Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hello, you're listening to Transcending Sport with me, Chris Stafford. And at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage. Transcending Sport is the show in which we feature organisations and individuals that are working towards furthering the representation of girls and women in sport. We also cover the topics here that affect girls and women in sport everywhere. And my guest today is Ebru Koksal, who is currently the Interim Chair of the UK-based organisation Women in Football, which is a network of professional women working in and around the football industry who support and champion their peers. Ebru began her professional career in New York as a financial analyst in corporate finance at Morgan Stanley and served as a senior manager at Citibank and AIG between 1992 and 2000. And after joining in 2001, Ebru has held several senior positions at Galatasaray following the merger of football, stadium and marketing companies in 2010. She was appointed as the general manager of the merged entity Galatasaray Sportif A.S. Ebru was the first woman to be elected to the executive board of the European Club Association in 2010, and she served as the Vice Chairwoman of the Institutional Relations Working Group. She was the recipient of the Executive of the Year Award in 2011, which was awarded by the Stadium Business Awards. In October 2011, she was appointed as the General Secretary of the Turkish Football Federation. And after leaving TFF in 2012, she joined FIFA's development program as a consultant and became a mentor at the FIFA Female Leadership Development Program and the UEFA Women in Football Leadership Programs, and also served as a consultant at UEFA between 2016 and 2018. Ebru is currently a senior advisor at J. Stern & Co. and non-executive director at Doublepass BV and MNT Healthcare, a member of the Scottish FA Equality and Diversity Advisory Board, and is also a founding member of the 30% Club Turkey. Ebru is a graduate of Brown University with dual degree in economics and international relations and Harvard Business School Advanced Management Program. And she's also a chartered financial analyst. I was able to catch up with Ebru when she was home in Turkey to hear about her role in Women in Football UK and what's on her agenda in the role of Interim Chair. Hello and welcome, Ebru, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting, Chris. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's a sport, of course, that is so mainstream these days, women's soccer. But I think it's fair to say that it's becoming sort of a role model in a way for other women in sport, in the minority sports. And you must have seen changes in the last even 10 years, Ebru, of the influence and the role of women in football, in soccer. We're going to call it soccer for our global audience. So tell me why this is a particular passion of yours, because you've played many roles in sport in your life, haven't you?
Yes, exactly. First of all, just a little bit on my story of coming into soccer world. I studied in the US economics and international relations and started out my career as an investment banker. And 10 years down the road, I was working for a private equity fund which invested in the leading soccer club in Turkey, Galatasaray. And I had just delivered my second child, 2 kids, 1.5 years apart. And 1 month later, my boss called me into his office and said that I couldn't work for the fund anymore with 2 little children. But if I wanted, he would recommend me as a CFO to the club that we invested in. So my actually coming into soccer was as a result of sexual discrimination in the finance industry. And at first I thought of taking the legal route, but then the president of the club said, come on, why don't you give it a try? This is really a fast-growing and fascinating and incredible industry. So I walked in the door of the club on 1st of January 2001. And ever since have been really, really hooked up and so passionate about the sport. And of course, during my 18 years in the industry, my let's say starting story was repeated many times for people around me as well as for myself. So I, for many years, really focused only on the good work that I was doing for my club or the other organizations in football that I worked for. But in 2015, I came across Women in Football in the UK and really loved what they were doing around discrimination, supporting and championing peers, celebrating success, and trying to improve women's representation at all levels of the game. And they had just announced an opening for a new board member. I applied and I joined 3.5 years ago. And this is an organization that was founded by three very visionary sports journalists in UK back in 2007, Anna Kessel, Shelley Alexander, and they were joined by Jackie Oatley and a few others. And originally what was for mainly maybe people, women working in media, then became a bigger and bigger organization every year. And today we have 2,500 members, several sponsors, and we've become a very impactful NGO in the area of equality in football, not only in the UK, but slowly expanding our borders outside of the UK as well. And our vision is hopefully one day, with all these joint efforts, to find the football industry a place where women can flourish and reach their full potential, whether it is on the pitch or off the pitch, whether it's in the boardroom or at any position in the administrative side of the game.
I want to talk about the emergence of the sport there, because it has increased in popularity considerably over the last even 10 years, Ebru. And that's, of course, a global scenario too, which is very exciting for the sport. Can you pinpoint perhaps the main challenges that you were excited by when you joined the organization, and what was really on your desk at that point, and what has changed, what has evolved since you've been in this position and involved with the organization?
This was back in 2014-15. It was after a difficult period in my career in football. I advanced very, very fast in my career, but had certain really bad setbacks as well. And that was the point when I actually had the chance to lift my head and look around and notice that several other women all over the world were facing similar challenges like me. And that was the point when I devised a leadership program for FIFA, which was taught in more than 50 countries. And the idea was basically to give the courage and the motivation and the inspiration to women to step up into leadership positions and try to bring along even more women into the industry. And this was sort of the new passion and mission for me personally, as not a day job, but as my giving back to the community after being a professional for 25 years in football and finance world. And what I've seen since then is more and more organizations and male allies are emerging as supporters of the gender equality cause in football. And this also is helping out with better gender balanced budgeting in organizations as well for women's football, because half of the population is women, needless to say. A significant percentage of the fan base globally is females. And it was inevitable that the commercial development of women's football would start picking up as well. The game has been played for decades, though obviously not at the same kind of professional level as the men's game, but it is a significant investment opportunity for federations, clubs, leagues, sponsors, because the returns are realized much, much faster. Imagine globally, 95% of the budgets are spent on men's football and only about 5% on women's football. But if you were to take away 5% from men's football, it wouldn't hurt the development of men's football as much, but it would double the budget for women's football. And imagine what that can do to the number of girls coming into the participation and the quality of the game, quality of the leagues. So there is a big potential that was finally noticed in the last decade, and the exponential growth has already started.
And how do you see that growth then right now in this course of history? Where will we look at how will we look at this period if for women's football, with the increase in professionalism being key, of course, and the equal pay, the diversity is another issue. The equality, of course, is key. Put this in context of where we are in the history now as you see it, and where we need to go, what needs to be done to change perceptions if you're going forward. How do you see this being tackled? Mm-hmm. No pun intended.
Yeah, the concept of exponential growth is obviously where every year you're doubling whatever it is, whether it's participation or budgets or viewership or fans or stadium attendance. So the initial years, because you're starting off from a very, very small base, might seem like a very slow growth, but the catch up in the next decade would be tremendous. And when we look at it globally, obviously there are already certain champions in terms of the quality of the game on the pitch, like obviously the US, UK, Netherlands, Germany in terms of women's football, Sweden, obviously, and also some champions in terms of the equality initiatives that they're doing. Again, I would put probably Sweden up at the top, and England also to a certain extent for that as well. Equal pay or equal distribution of prize money, whether it's the World Cup or a domestic cup like FA Cup in England, is not an easy matter that will happen overnight, obviously, because it's a bit of a chicken and egg story. You have to invest before you can reap the benefits, which means that you need to increase the quality of the broadcast, increase the quality of the pitches and stadiums that women are playing at. And once the quality of the product increases, that's when sponsors, broadcasters, and fans start coming in at a faster pace as well. But up till now, many of the major events and tournaments were being sold within bundles with men's rights. And UEFA, for its current cycle, for the next cycle, broke that and started marketing women's tournaments separately, women's Euros and women's Champions League. And look, Visa came in with a significant investment, and I'm sure that many will follow in that sense.
And of course, it's important to have women not just attending the games as well. We need increase the fan base across women, but we also need women in the boardroom. It's every aspect of the game, isn't it, Ebru? What changes have you seen in terms of each of these areas where there is increased awareness, there is an increased interest in women making this a career, both on and off the field of play?
Well, recently we did some research in the UK. The results are not out yet, but our main sponsor, Barclays, has commissioned the state of play research, which involved some of the different levels of women working in and around the industry. And especially if we look at the hardcore fan base of football, whether they watch women's or men's football, female fans didn't really think that football could be a career. So the more we can create these role models and showcase the unsung heroes behind the scenes, the more women will come into the game. And what's important is obviously the push from the bottom, which is in a way what we are trying to do at Women in Football. Give the necessary encouragement and training and upscale the women, give them the necessary skills to step into leadership positions. This is all great, but also through collaborative dialogue with the governing bodies, we're trying to create the sincere demand from the top. And what I mean by that is it's very easy to simply write a policy where you say, gender equality is one of our pillars, and, we will follow these steps to ensure better equality in the business. But sincere belief in the value added of women in not only the C-suite, but also in the boardroom, of course, requires an authentic leader, to champion that. And one of our partners in our inaugural What If campaign was the leading executive search firm in sports, Spencer Stewart. And their pledge was to show at least 30% women in any search mandate that they receive in the sports industry, even if the client hasn't asked for it. That obviously doesn't ensure the hiring of a woman, but it at least gives the chance to the interviewing panel to see what they're missing if they don't also look for diverse candidates.
And of course, there is also the pushback that has been traditional with organizations such as FIFA, the governing bodies of the sport. It's been very male dominated. But I think at the other end of that, of course, is the push from women, and that women are demonstrating their leadership roles, their coaching ability, every aspect of the game, officiating, every aspect of the game. So are you beginning to see a change in trend of that generation of male leadership, or do you feel that it's going to come from the younger generations of male leadership to be more accepting of women in the sport, in every aspect of the game?
Yes, and I think this is probably a matter of almost a decade that we see less prejudice and more belief in equality in the younger members of the, or the more junior members of the organizations, let's say. And with all due respect to the, let's say, older generation of sports executives who have seen the tremendous growth of the game over the last 2-3 decades, they were not all that welcoming. They had the strong inner circle of men, and I personally felt a lot of the times that it was very difficult to break into that inner circle and become a permanent part of the decision-making table. So the fight that maybe my generation has given, and the extraordinary performance that we have shown in the boards or in the C-suite positions that we have taken, is certainly creating more demand for female executives in the future. So when a woman comes into a position, such an important decision-making position, there is double responsibility. You want to perform well for yourself, but also for other women who might be candidates for the same position in the future. Leave a good legacy behind so that next time an interview panel will not overpass a woman applying.
And of course, so much of the sport's responsibility is on the field of play in terms of the professionalism, the increased exposure, all of those things, including the increased fan base and so on. Give us a sense of how many teams, how many national squads now globally there are, Ebru, that have become professional.
The latest research will be hopefully published before the France World Cup by FIFA, but there were still at least 30%, 35% of the member associations who didn't have proper professional leagues for women's football. And currently, the number of registered players, this is the figure from 3 years ago, from the last World Cup, is around 30 million globally. And the aim is to double that by 2026. This is FIFA's strategic plan. And UEFA has recently put out another strategic plan for the Europe region. And all the associations are working towards, first of all, increased participation figures and much better quality leagues as well. And this is, of course, you cannot expect everything from the governing bodies. There is a lot that private organizations can do and NGOs like us can do. And one of the interesting campaigns that we started almost 8 months ago is our inaugural What If campaign. And the idea was basically in celebration of our 10th year as Women in Football, we wanted to come up with a campaign which basically encourages everyone to join the debate, to challenge corporates, ambassadors, and members of the public to take action personally or as part of their organizations and improve the landscape for every woman in football. And we had close to 100 pledgers ranging from as I said, Spencer Stewart, for example, pledging to show at least 30% women on any search that they do. Barclays pledging to do the state of affairs research. Twitter designing a new Women in Football emoji for the first time for us. And several others, especially like UEFA, who came in to say, what if they were to increase their budgets allocated to women's football for each of their member countries by 50% in the 2018-21 cycle? That's a significant commitment, and more pledges keep coming. So the idea is to make people realize that you cannot expect everything from the top organizations, but as individuals or smaller organizations, we can also help to collectively change the landscape.
And what are your main focuses now with the organization? What is on your agenda over, say, the next few years, Ebru, within Women in Football itself?
Well, what we are focusing on is creating this long-lasting impact and establishing ourselves as further the partner to all the sports organizations related to football, soccer, that want to join in the equality movement. And this comes in many different ways. For the women that are working in football, we have already a very well-established leadership program, which so far we've had close to 200 women attend. And beyond that, we're planning career days, mentoring programs. So this would be the part that we work with with our members to upscale them and prepare them for bigger positions. And we're also working with the governing bodies to help them set policies that would help to achieve these gender equality measures over the next few years. Within our board, as well as our membership base, we have experts on policy making, on human resources, on setting strategies for achieving these targets. So we are out there as partners, consultants, and also working on the field together with the decision makers to make this change happen.
And of course, we're in a World Cup year. This is going to be obviously a game changer in many ways when we have such a global event as the World Cup. Are you using this particular event for any initiatives at all? Do you see this as a milestone in how you can change perception and popularity for the sport and of course, increase women's involvement? And that includes getting women to games.
Sure. First of all, of course, the combination of the France World Cup as well as the next Euros in England in 2021 creates a great opportunity for us to organize events and raising awareness around gender equality. And we're working with several other organizations and NGOs like ourselves to create that impact. And Equal Playing Field is one of them. They're preparing to hold the largest game ever. Hopefully will be a Guinness record event with close to 3,000 players that will be played over 5 or 6 days. And we're thinking of some collaboration with them, as well as some conference organizers. So hopefully once the plans are in place, we'll be in a better position to announce them. But FIFA has recently launched a Legends campaign, so creating role models and male champions of equality are also and should be also important components of such campaigns to make them more impactful.
Well, I'm sure as a fan of the sport as well, you keep a close eye on the players and the teams to watch. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Ebru, and get your predictions for the World Cup. Which are the teams to watch, and any particular players you think we should keep an eye on?
Well, first of all, I always like to see how the less fortunate do, let's say. I also sit on the Equality and Diversity Advisory Board of the Scottish FA, and for the first time, the women's team has qualified for a World Cup. So I'm very keen on seeing how they fare. And obviously, the usual suspects will be on my radar: England, US, Canada, Japan, Australia, Sweden. But it should be really exciting to hopefully go and watch the games in person as well. And I don't have a particular, let's say, hero that I am following, but anyone that is helping their team outperform their potential, I think will be on my agenda, and I'll be on the lookout for those wonderful performers.
And talent spotting too, I'm sure. Well, it's going to be a great event and a real showcase for women's football. So enjoy that competition and the year ahead, Ebru. And thank you for taking the time to come on the program. The very best of luck with your organization.
Thank you very much. Hope to speak again and with good news on developments on our part as well.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
My thanks again to Ebru, and you can find links to Women in Football UK on our show page, which goes with this episode, on the website at wispsports.com. And while you're on the website, be sure to check out some of the other coverage we have here at Wisp Sports, from videos to blogs and articles, as well, of course, as the podcasts, which you can also find on any podcast player. Just look for Wisp Sports. And be sure to follow us on social media and join in the conversation there. We're at Wisp Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and of course YouTube, where we have our latest videos, which you can also find on the website at wispsports.com. Until the next time, thank you for listening. Goodbye for now.